Bobby Charlton. Well done, Manchester United.
It's a Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it! Nagelsmann saved it! United again! Ready!
Welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick.
I'm Alex.
And I'm David.
Yeah, it's quite rare that we have the same lineup 2 podcasts in a row. We were just together a few days ago after a board draw against Chelsea, but quite fitting that the 3 of us are back here again, right, David?
Well, I think it shows that we're not just fair weather supporters showing up after that diabolical Chelsea game, and I just wanted to make sure I was on tonight to let everyone know how apparently obviously wrong I was. So I'll take my humble pie and celebrate and enjoy that result, because that was, as Oli would say, fantastic.
Woo!
Yeah, you know, the funny thing was I actually took quite a lot of flack after the last pod. There was several comments saying how harsh I'd been on you. Somebody said I'd gone in 2-footed and that I wouldn't let you go, and what a load of nonsense I was talking. And I was kind of surprised myself, to be honest, because I was just like, generally I've always been that Ole in and defending against any other comments, but people were feeling sorry for you, Dave, there.
Well, no, don't worry about it, Nick. What is invisible to you is often transparent to other people, so that was just that coming through. So don't worry about it. These things happen, sticks and stones, and obviously from what we were talking about in the last podcast, you kind of got proved right in a big, big way tonight. So, I mean, fair play to you for sticking the 2-footed challenging on me. It was probably quite deserved after my flip-flopping stance, and there you go. Turns out I was wrong, you were right, and we move on.
Yeah, well, like I say, let's rewind and look. It was actually a very interesting. The whole pre-match here, there was so much talk about Nagelsmann, and it wasn't. You talked him up a lot on the last podcast, and it wasn't just you. I'd seen a lot of YouTube videos coming out. Articles on The Athletic about, the best up-and-coming manager in the world. And, we talked last year, it's pretty amazing that at 33 years of age, as pointed out on the commentary today, he's actually younger than Edison Cavani, who's on our bench, that he's already taken a team to the Champions League semi-finals. And yeah, he's lauded for his tactics, working out how other teams play and everything like that. And you thought we would lose this game because of what a kind of tactical genius he is. I was absolutely ready for this game to see what Ole could do. And yeah, I think Ole, he really pulled a swift one here, didn't he? Because you pointed out, Dave, that Nagelsmann is a master of looking at the other team, working out what their weaknesses are and adapting to it. Ole then comes out, plays a lineup that he's literally never played before. Comes out with this midfield diamond, rests players, Rashford, Bruno, who you argue even say are our 2 biggest players so far this season, rest them. McTominay gets a rest as well. There's actually 5 changes from the team. And it just looked like Red Bull were not ready for it at all. I mean, is that the way you saw it? Well, it's it's an Ole tactical masterclass, isn't it?
No, nail on the head. I thought it was a masterclass. I thought Red Bull started off pretty well. I know I was talking to you before we went on air. I was watching the game without any fan noise, so you could hear the noise that was coming from the coaching staff and Nagelsmann, and they were so vocal the first 5 minutes. I was like, oh my God, no wonder they work so hard for the guy. The coaching staff are just on them constantly. And for about maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes, it was just constant. Every time we had the ball, all you could hear was these German accents just screaming at them to close us down, and the players did. And I thought, well, here we go. This is going to be a typical Red Bull performance. But it looked like we were set up to expect that from the off. We knew exactly what was coming at us. And the formation that we put together, that diamond just played so well against what Red Bull are good at. And then I thought the composure on the ball, I mean, the tactics will only go so far. You still have to have the players have composure when the pressure is on them. And I thought to a T, each and every one of our players was just so good on the ball tonight. Even with their back facing their own goal, maybe 30 yards out, ball coming in fast, some of the touches around the side and 1-2s that we were playing, we just completely played around their press. And then after 10-15 minutes, those voices calmed down on the side. the players, you could see the Red Bull players are like, we're not getting anywhere with this, and they started to back off a little bit, and then that's when we sort of were able to take the game to them, and I think 5-0 is a little bit on the generous side for us, but overall, absolutely tactical masterclass from Ole, and it was so good to see, because the last few games now, since the Newcastle, PSG, Chelsea game, it really has been evidence that Ole knows how to get his tactics right, and against all different varieties of opposition. So it's been so good to see.
Yeah, and and that was something I obviously pointed out in the last podcast, that I always found it strange that people would bring up Ole and say that he doesn't know tactics, when time and time again he's beaten all the biggest names. And last time I mentioned Guardiola, Jose. This time he can add Nagelsmann to his list. And yeah, the interesting thing as well was that he literally decided to go toe-to-toe with their high press and said, you want to do that, we're going to do it even better than you. And, we have seen us press before, and then it kind of got lost somewhere around last season. But today you could see right from the front foot, Greenwood, Martial, everybody was just pushing, pressing immediately them. And Leipzig were not happy about that at all. I mean, we keep calling them Red Bull. I don't know if you saw actually Ole in the pre-match presser today. He pulled up one of the journalists, Andy Mitten, for calling them Red Bull, and he said, that's not actually the name of this team, which technically is correct, Rasenball Sport or whatever. But
yeah, that's
anyway.
A mouthful, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, as I understand, it's pretty much just like a made-up German word, because they're not allowed to call them Red Bull due to German laws. But anyway, Leipzig. But yeah, Alex, did were you impressed by our kind of pressing game? It was something that we kind of did see at points last season, and then it kind of disappeared a bit, and then today it's just absolutely worked to a T, hasn't it?
It was a high press, and we definitely did go toe-to-toe with them in that sense, but it wasn't a particularly high line, I didn't feel, and that was fine. That made a lot of sense, actually. And one thing, David said the players were all really composed and passing really well. I would agree with that for the most part. There were moments in the game and periods where it felt like momentum wasn't swinging their way, but they were taking control a little bit, and we were perhaps giving the ball away in silly positions. But what was constantly there, what never faltered throughout the whole game, was a laser focus on our off-the-ball shape and positioning. And I don't think anybody really put a foot wrong on the defensive side. We were quick to the ball, quick into the tackle. Probably gave away some fouls that perhaps we needn't, but a lot of that was also down to how the ref was policing the game. And I actually thought his stop-start style probably suited us today, even though it made the game a little bit boring for the neutral. I think most of us expected Rashford to perhaps be pulled out, for Martial to come in. We thought that Van der Beek would start, with it being the Champions League, but I don't think any of us were expecting that if it wasn't a back five, it would be a diamond, like you say. And he played the right players for that press. Obviously, Matic was there to bring some stability and some composed passing from deep, but Fred's inclusion was really important. And for me, he was, the standout from the starting 11. He was absolutely brilliant, just buzzing everywhere, with both tackles and interceptions, quick to the ball. And his energy made a massive difference, because he was basically doing to them what they like to do to our players.
Yeah, straight early on, you could see Fred within the first 15 minutes was winning the ball directly from the press. And sometimes his passing was slightly off. That was the only thing he was really lacking from having that amazing game. But he, the amount of times he won the ball just made up for any kind of lacking he had in making that pass there. And it was like I said, you could see it from the first 10, 15 minutes. He won that ball straight up in the pitch. And just the speed of this game was crazy. It was so open, so fast, compared to that absolute bore draw we saw on the weekend. It was like the total polar opposite, wasn't it? So it's great to see this kind of game. And but yeah, early on, it really was just open, either way it was going. Until, of course, an amazing ball from Paul Pogba and a great finish from Greenwood. I mean, his first shot and first goal in the Champions League.
Not surprising, right? So in line with everything else he's done with the club. And again, it actually all stemmed from, Fred winning the ball back for us, I think. Pogba then actually drive forward. And I think it's been clear to everyone, it doesn't take a genius to say that Pogba's best position is on the left side of a midfield free, where he does have that license to move forward, but he's also able to to play at an angle and on a diagonal and both drift out wide and bring the ball inside. And he was on it today. Like he was, both in attack and defence, he was clearly making an effort. And I think one of the big sort of macro themes that you could see its influence on today's game was just the quality of the wider squad in every position now, but basically right wing where we've got no one, but we've got alternative options and flexibility in who we play, and right back where Wan-Bissaka doesn't really have any competition. But, with Tellez inclusion, with Cavani's transferred now, in every single position, there's competition. And Ollie showing that today, Bruno being rested, Pogba being dropped or rested over the last few weeks, whichever way you want to look at it, that competition had an impact on the performances of players, because Pogba came in today and clearly sort of wanted to send a bit of a message, I think, and I thought he was excellent. And yeah, he drives forward, plays that ball into Greenwood. In the Prem, it's probably offside, but who cares?
Yeah, that was a funny thing on the VAR, wasn't it? Like when I first saw the VAR kind of lines come in, I thought, oh, they're going to give offside. And I was kind of surprised that they didn't. But it does seem that like calls are made differently in the Premier League compared to what goes on in Europe. And it's helped us this time. But again and again, I'd just say like when goals like that are chalked off in the Premier League for just being like an inch or a toe offside, I just think it's so ridiculous. And it's just like the death of football, basically. And, you even saw it for like that second goal as well, where it was like waiting for the VAR as Rashford's gone through, and in the end the linesman's actually made a big mistake because he's not supposed to be putting the flag up. Rashford does well to keep going, and in the end they realise he's actually in his own half, so he's not offside. But yeah, look, time and time again I'm a critic of it, but yeah, it just seems that it's never going away, this VAR.
We gained no, but and obviously they never do, even when these are given, but you gain no advantage from any sort of any centimetres or millimetres or whatever, if he did have any. And it was just classic Greenwood, efficient, clean finish. He strikes the ball so cleanly, he knows where the back of the net is. We were all confident that as soon as that ball's played, that he'd be putting it between the sticks. And great goal, and I think getting that first goal was hugely important.
Definitely, because it was an open, kind of evenish game, really. So to get that goal made a massive difference. And yeah, there's two players where there's been a lot of negative press for Greenwood, and he's turned up today, been given the start and delivered. A lot of press this week talking about why isn't Donny van de Beek playing, and it's even gone people going as far as saying, oh, I don't think Ole wanted him and he's not playing him, and it's all absolute nonsense. And again, like, people need to realise that so much stuff that's written in the media is just made up, anti-United propaganda, and they should not be lapping this stuff up. And I just see so many people time and time again just believing this total crap that comes out. So today, it was good to see those two players, Greenwood and Van der Beek, where there's been a lot written about them in the last few weeks, the ones turning up there. I know, Dave, you're a massive fan of Donny van der Beek, aren't you? And we've had a couple of chats this week about him, and you think that, he should be playing in our first team, basically. I still think it's going to take a bit of time for him to work his way in. And as I said last week, I'm not that surprised that he's not featured that much yet. And I think he's a young player coming in from a weaker league, and that, he'll get his chances when they come. So today was his first big chance. He started a couple of League Cup games before, but to start in a Champions League game was big for him. And how did you see his game today?
I thought he was brilliant. And I think it's just in general, I just prefer that style of player. I prefer watching him play to watching Pogba and Bruno play. I'm not saying that I think he's a better player than him. I just prefer watching that style of player who's just so clever on the ball, keeps it simple, isn't always looking for that World Cup pass, very rarely gives it away. And there was a few instances today where most other players, and I don't just mean in our team, I mean most other professional footballers, there were a few times today where Rasenball Sport put on a 3 or 4 man press, really, really bearing down on him, and he just played a pass round the corner that was difficult to even see it on TV that pass was there, and then the ball just ended up at one of our midfielders' feet, and they had 10, 15 yards of space because Van de Beek had effectively negated the press just by a really quick pass inside. And I think he's just always looking for that, as what is the quickest way out of a difficult situation, but how do I keep it simple as well? And I think part of the reason that I can get so frustrated with Pogba and Bruno at times as well, is that they try and get out of that situation with like a kind of World Cup ball in behind, and we end up giving it away and just having to reset. Van de Beek looks for the most simple execution, but to anyone else, they can't do it. There was one knock around the corner today that genuinely I came back and I said, well, oh my God, how did he do that? Just so smart on the ball, so clever, and just for me, I enjoy watching that style of player more. But it looked, even when he came off for Bruno, like I like seeing players who don't look pissed off to be coming off and look like they just want the team to go on and win and want the guy to replace him to go on and do well. Sometimes you see it where the players don't even make eye contact. Van de Beek walks off, looks Bruno right in the eye, says something to him, gives him a hug, and it's like, on you go and help bring this home for the team. I love to see that. Looks like we have strong camaraderie in the squad, and the options that we have. I mean, everyone tonight, every one of those midfielders, even McTominay, I thought he was great when he came on. Every one of our players, I don't think you can give anyone less than an 8 out of 10 performance. It's a squad game, and right now our squad, especially in the midfield, man, it looks strong. It's exciting.
Yeah, totally. And that's why, all this stuff about why isn't Van de Beek playing, I just think was so rubbish, because we, like you say, we've got so many midfield options, and him being the new boy, it's just normal that he has to take his time to get his chance and play his way in. But I do also agree with you that he was great at keeping hold of the ball, not losing it. I'm sure Alex will always remember that my favourite stats are always passing accuracy, and I think I've not talked about these for quite a while. But today, Van de Beek was the top of them with 89%, not giving the ball away. But to be totally fair to Paul Pogba, he's up to 86%, not giving the ball away. The only one who's a little bit down in the 70s is Fred, like we said, but he kind of was making it up with some amazing interceptions.
And it were always right foot as well. It's when Fred passes with his right foot, it seems to go a bit wayward. And just the nature of where he was playing on the pitch and where he wins the ball, it means he's passing off of his right foot, and it's just not quite as strong.
And even up front today, like the likes of Martial and Greenwood are up there at like 86, 88%. And normally your forwards, they're never that high because, they're going for riskier things. They're like trying to shoot, they're trying to cross. And for your forwards to be hitting like the high 80s, that just shows how amazing our play was today. And there was some absolutely beautiful one-touch football going on early on as well. Pogba, Martial, Greenwood, all like linking up well. And I think, to me, that is the kind of sign of what is Ole's ultimate philosophy that we haven't seen enough of yet. It's come now and again, but I think that is really where he wants this team to get to. A fluid attacking team, one touch, two touch play, get straight up the play, and like when it really comes off, as I've said before, it's the best football we have seen since Sir Alex Ferguson left.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, one of the sort of problems with the Diamond and why we maybe haven't tried it previously has been, a lack of strong fullbacks in an attacking and on the ball sense. But what we were able to see today is how the likes of Donny, Pogba, Fred to an extent, but mostly Donny and Pogba can drift wide and make things happen, and so can Martial and Greenwood, Martial in particular, and that just allowed an element of flexibility with our movement up front, but also some of those small little interplays and 1-2s that were working so well. And when you talk about keeping the ball and the pass accuracy stat, obviously ball retention goes beyond that too. And I thought Van de Beek just did a great job generally with even his dribbling. He multiple times beat the press with just a little shimmy, flicking it from the left foot to his right foot. And he was able to actually beat a man, beat the press, and then, like you say, would play quite a tidy pass on. I think Bruno not being in the starting 11 today was probably more with an eye to Arsenal. But I do agree that, whilst he maybe would have taken advantage of some of the gaps that they did leave in their midfield and defence, more so than Donny would have done, Donny's ball retention did play a big part in that composure that we saw. I think maybe he can demand the ball a bit more and get on it a little bit more. He's always wanting it, always asking for it. When he does get it, he's always open to playing a little fancy flick, back heel, whatever it needs to be, which some of our players aren't always ready for. Yeah, I thought it was a really, really strong.
I do agree with that, actually, that, maybe he needs to come in. He wasn't involved as much in the game as he could do, but, it's his first start.
Yeah, exactly.
Guy.
No,
and in fact, looking at the stats, like I say, he's had 38 touches today. I mean, he did get substituted earlier on, but it is the least touches of anybody who started the game. So yeah, that's the only slight thing. But as he comes in, I'm sure he's going to get more involved. That's the exact opposite to somebody like Bruno, who will have like the most touches of anybody in the game and wants the ball every bloody 2 minutes. But yeah, look, like I say, there's plenty of time for him to come in, and yeah, he's shown the kind of thing he can do today. But yeah, look, we should say that this was still like a tight game till pretty late on. It's not like we've like destroyed them all the way through. In the end, obviously, it looks amazing for us at 5-0, and we held that 1-0. But at the same time, I say it was a tight game, but like, did Leipzig have that many chances? I don't remember David De Gea having a save to make.
One save from
really.
Konate, their big centre half, had a header from quite close range. But I really can't remember much beyond that. And even then, like it was from a set piece.
Yeah, and you could argue though that we didn't really force their keeper into making any saves either between the first goal and the second goal. But obviously because we had that goal, we didn't need to. Essentially, we could sit on that, we could chill, basically try and slow the game down, and also like I said earlier, I think the refs' constant policing and whistleblowing probably did play into our hands in that sense a little bit. But yeah, we're speaking recently about our defensive incompetency. And then you look at the last few games and we didn't need to resort to a back five. And for me, the whole defence was outstanding. Lindelof was brilliant today, I thought. Didn't put a foot wrong, but also I thought he was really strong and progressive on the ball. And I think he's always had that. But similar to his defending, his on-the-ball play is always prone to him just not... I don't know what it is. Like, he's got the ability to do it, but there are some games where he would just rather play the easy pass and let someone else, make that pass between the lines instead. But I thought his passing was progressive and really good. And a high-pressing team is what you would say would be our defence's nightmare. But that wasn't the case today. They looked at ease. They looked comfortable throughout the 90 minutes, which was fantastic. Fantastic.
One big criticism that even I have also had of Ole has always been about in-game management, about making his subs. Like, he often leaves it very late to change things.
Yeah.
And, it's often as well, like, players played again and again and again, and we've talked about not doing enough rotation. But, it's always been the question mark has he done that just because he's not making the right decisions, or is it because he's not had the squad to do it? So, as you say now, we've got this much better squad with a lot of options on the bench. And so today we see him actually coming in and making those decisions in the game early-ish on. Like I say, around the 60th minute, he's made 2 changes. And it's rare for Ole. He's normally waiting till the 80th minute to change anything, and he might give somebody a go. And I think people were actually surprised to see 2 changes at that time, especially Greenwood coming out. And I'd say as well, not just the goal, like Greenwood did some amazing running and pressing today. And as well, he was like charging back, like protecting Aaron Wan-Bissaka again and again. So to see that side to his game was brilliant, because, we know what an amazing finisher he is. But to see him working hard for the team, making sure that Wan-Bissaka is protected was great as well. But yeah, he was obviously tired. He was not going to be able to keep that up all game. So it made sense to take him out. Nemanja Matic sitting on a yellow card is also not going to be like at full pelt for the whole game. So yeah, bringing these changes, Rashford in, McTominay in, and then we see what a difference it made from there.
Yeah, they were like for like changes, but that was fine. That was all the game needed, was, like you say, a freshening of legs. What I would say is that credit to Ollie for these changes. They worked perfectly, particularly one of them, obviously. But it is easier to replace tired, leggy Van der Beek and Greenwood, who haven't been starting the last few games, than it would be for him to have been taking off a Rashford or a Bruno who started and making those bold decisions. Because I think for me, that has always been my frustration, that he would keep all those big names on for the whole 90 minutes and just add more big names and add more forwards, which just feels quite blunt and not as subtle as it needs to be. And often they'd end up treading on each other's toes, and players who clearly weren't on form and not having their best day, whilst I understand they can just turn up at any moment. It always felt like he was relying too much on individual brilliance from a player who was clearly, off their best form. So props to him today, but it doesn't convince me that means that moving forward he'll make those brave, bold decisions early on. But let's see, I guess. But yeah, McTominay came in, had a good game, and Rashford was unbelievable. Like, I think genuinely for me, that's and I think Imran said this on our WhatsApp too, probably the best sub performance I've seen from a United player. He was the one who took it from being a 1-0 where they could have got back into it and just completely killed the game off. Increased our tempo and just with some fantastic quality, forced them to lose their heads basically.
Well, no, look, this like that kind of hour mark is actually the changing point in this whole game. Like as you said, early on it'd been tight. We'd got that goal. We were 1-0 up. We make 2 changes. Nagelsmann also makes 2 changes. He brings on Sabitzer, he brings on Sorloth, and he goes more like actually 4-4-2 with 2 men up front. And Sabitzer is a big player for them. I think he scored a lot of goals for them last year, but has been injured and is coming back in. We then also had our 3rd change. Bruno comes in for Van der Beek. And like I said, it was this kind of 10-minute period where both managers are coming in and doing their little bit of chess with their moves. 3 moves from Ole, 2 moves from Nagelsmann. And a few minutes later, we're 2-0 up. And then really from then on, it was just like, a change game, right, Dave?
Yep, and I think I would say maybe his manager would have something to say about Rashford's sub-performance being the best ever, even though we put 8 past Nottingham Forest that day. I think 4 goals.
That's a very good point. Like, today Rashford's had a 16-minute hat-trick, but yeah, Ole scored 4 in 11 minutes coming off the bench.
But then again, that was a game that was dead and buried against Forest. I think we won that game 8-1. But I think the contrast between subs, Rashford obviously came on and arguably is our man of the match despite only playing half an hour. And I thought Sabitzer for them was absolutely shocking. I think our substitutions did obviously influence it. I think that sub influenced it as well. Looked like they were expecting him to come on and start influencing things, and he did not get a grip on the game at all and then ended up giving a stupid penalty away. I think that substitution played into our hands as well. But I think our performance today, it was a bit like, for the first 60 minutes, we were like Floyd Mayweather, just dodging everything, just great defence, anything you throw at us, we're going to have an answer for it, stifling, and then on the front foot when we need to be, sitting back, just absorbing the blows, and then we subbed on Mike Tyson and just went in for the kill, and it was just like that. I mean, everything that's going on in that kid's life right now, he doesn't need a hat-trick performance in 16 minutes. But my God, it really does make you proud to be a Man United fan when you see someone like that doing so good off the field, coming back from what was obviously a really bad back injury, and then doing something like that. It's just those are the moments that any football fan just lives for, right? And to see him do that was one of the highlights of my time following Man United, when you take it into pure context of what he's doing in his life and what he did tonight. Unreal. I mean, I don't think there are any superlatives for it that can do it justice.
Yeah, and also extra credit because Bruno came on as well, right? And obviously was the player who played that incisive ball first time, which got Rashford in behind to score that second goal and to essentially kill the game off. So huge credit there. It was just a fantastic goal. Great ball from Bruno to quickly transition, and yeah, no one was catching up with Rashford once he was in that position. He set himself, put it on his right foot, and just made it look easy. And
again,
brilliant.
It is all about Ole's philosophy of the fast transition, get that ball forward, get in behind, score the goal. But yeah, again, we've had to wait for that VAR, which is like, this is the thing I really hate, that you can't celebrate a goal nowadays. He scored that goal and then everybody's kind of waiting around for like a decision to actually celebrate it. Like, it just like really takes the fun out of like a lot of things for me.
To play devil's advocate with that though, you do get to celebrate it twice when it goes your way.
Yeah,
yes, goal. Oh wait, maybe not a goal. Yes, goal.
I think everyone just thought it was offside.
Yeah, this one actually, you're right. Even the players didn't celebrate. Yeah. Normally you get a bit of celebration, then they're like, oh, let's wait, and they get another. This time they were just like, no celebration at all.
Yeah, what is the rule? What is the rule with that? Like, if their keeper obviously made an attempt to save it, if he just stands there and watches it go in because he sees the linesman flag is up,
it's played to the whistle, and the ref didn't blow his whistle. And actually, the linesman
should not put his flag up. That is the rules now. That the linesman should not put his flag up until the player's finished, and then he puts up the flag if he thinks it's offside, which doesn't really matter anyway. It's up to VAR to check it. But the linesman has made a mistake there. And he should not be putting his flag up, even if he thinks it's offside.
He must just have thought it was so obviously offside because he was so far in front of everyone else. Like, I can see why the linesman made that decision, because he's got a split second to see when the pass was and where the player is, and then Marcus Rashford's 20 yards away from anyone running down on goal. I do see why he gave it, but obviously, like, he's now like punching himself in the face.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the goalkeeper was still trying to save it, and I don't even know that he'd looked over at the linesman. So I don't actually know that it made any difference at all.
No, I don't think it did.
Flag being raised.
And that goal number 3, again, I think it was a Fred interception and Rashford finishing off, right? Again, the credit is over there.
More than just to finishing off. He gets the ball, he's stood up by their centre-back, and he takes a touch to the left, touch to the right, and then just knocks it past him, and then just smashes it into the bottom corner. It was unbelievable centre-forward play, that goal. I don't think I realised on first viewing how good a goal it was, but brilliant first hook. But then a great second touch to take it to the right of him. And then, like I say, he just knocks it on and bursts past him with his pace, and he's gone. And at that point, he just smashes it past the keeper with a perfect bottom corner finish. It was genuinely a brilliant goal.
Yeah, I agree. That was prime Brazilian Ronaldo, that goal, is a good way to sum that up.
He just needed to take it around the keeper for prime number 9 Ronaldo, but yeah.
Double shoulder dip.
Yeah, no, a lot of people might have not even noticed after that, just in the whole celebration, that they only then made a couple of other subs straight off it, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka went out, and he as well had another outstanding defensive game. The amount of times he goes in for slide tackles in our box, and I'm like, oh my God, what's he doing? But just wins it cleanly every time. He's like, you keep thinking now and again, surely he's going to give away a penalty, but he just never does. Every time he wins those one-on-one tackles, slides, whatever, and it's just, amazing to see again and again and again. Tuanzebe comes in for him, and then Cavani also comes in for his Champions League kind of debut for us. But it's then another kind of few minutes until we go to that penalty, and surely you all expected that Marcus is going to come up for his hat trick, right?
Yeah. Well, that or Bruno taking it, to be honest. But I thought Rashford would take it. But I wasn't that surprised that he didn't, because it's Rashford. I feel like he's the only player who probably would have done that. And actually, usually I would say I want my striker to be selfish. I want my striker to be going for the hat-trick. You want them to be driven by the goals and by the numbers, to be honest, because at the end of the season, that's what's going to make them be hitting those 25, 30-plus numbers. But Martial hasn't got off the mark this season. He hasn't yet got a goal. So to give it to Martial, who did win the penalty, I thought was... some brilliant leadership there to be willing to do that, and got Martial off the spot.
Well, that was it. I think somebody said not content with feeding all the hungry kids in UK, he's decided to feed Tony Martial his first goal as well.
Awesome.
Fair play.
Yeah, I would have maybe gave it to Cavani, the penalty. I would have been tempted to give it to him.
I think he's down the pecking order, isn't he?
Yeah,
like you say,
sure.
Bruno, Rashford, Martial. But then anyway, look, Rashford does get his hat-trick, right? And just in injury time, he comes up and finishes it off in the absolute perfect story. And ends up with an absolutely crazy 5-0 win against this, much hyped Leipzig team. Top of the Bundesliga, unbeaten so far this year. We talked before about all the plaudits Nagelsmann's been getting. So to come in and beat this team 5-0. And Dave, you were saying last time that the reason that you'd got so upset was because we lost to Spurs by 5 goals. We've now gone and smashed Leipzig by 5 goals, and we even had 10 men that day. It's 11 versus 11 here.
Yeah, and I don't think it can be understated just how impressive a win that is. I mean, it's not like... Remember when we played Porto in the 90s and everyone was talking up Mario Jardel, and obviously it's not the same now as it was back then, but you would have thought it was the second coming of Pele that we were going to be up against, and then we absolutely smashed them 4-0, and then Jardel went on to have a rather underwhelming career, ending up at Bolton. This Red Bull team is probably going to challenge all the way for the Bundesliga. They are phenomenally well run, and their coaching staff get the absolute maximum out that group of players.
Are you sure about this?
No, they're a great team.
I'm joking. No, I know.
They're such a good team, and we just set up to nullify them. It was the right thing to do, as opposed to going in with the mentality of, oh, we're Manchester United, this team's only been around for 10 years, we're better than them boys, go show them who's boss. It wasn't like that. We clearly prepared for what they had, gave them their respect, and in the end, I said on the last pod that I think they might teach us a lesson. We absolutely taught them a lesson that they probably will learn from, because I get the feeling that's the type of team and the type of coaching staff that they are. They'll take it, they'll analyse, they'll grow from it. But we taught them a lesson, and it was spectacular to see.
Yeah, but we should spend a little time on that fifth goal just first, because their heads had gone at this point and they weren't really at the races. But at the same time, they just weren't getting close to us anyway. I think it started from the back. It was a nice team goal. Maguire played it to Bruno, who was on the wing, who played it to Martial, who was also on the wing a little bit further up, who drifted out wide. And like I said earlier, that was probably one of the nice things about today, that whether we're playing diamond or 4-3-3 at this point doesn't really matter. The likes of Bruno, the likes of Martial can come to the wing and can still be dangerous. And I think at that point, Martial just drove it inside, as we know he's capable of doing. Bruno made a run inside and then out just to create a little bit of space for him. And then it was just a square pass to Rashford, who'd managed to find himself some space, and again another good finish. And it was just a great goal and a great way to cap the game off, I guess.
Yeah, and they had as well, Rashford had that chance like earlier on where he beat like 3 players. Could have put in Martial, but he was going for his hat-trick, and it would have been like kind of goal of the season or something, but didn't manage to get the finish. So yeah, it was great that he did actually then manage to get that hat-trick at the end of it all.
Because he probably could have played Martial at that point. I don't know if there was a little bit of guilt at that when the penalty landed, but yeah, it was great play. He was unlucky not to finish. And then obviously you had the Cavani disallowed goal too.
Yeah,
could have been 7.
That was a shame. He was just a yard offside again, but yeah, I'm sure he'll get a bit sharper on that kind of side. Yeah, we should as well give a mention, because there's been a lot of press about Upamecano, that a player that we should possibly be interested in. And yeah, I definitely think that we should be going for that kind of player, although we've then had Tuanzebe coming in doing a good showing, but still, it's definitely a player that we shouldn't be saying no to. Still only 22, and yeah, he did actually look damn good, and it's the first time I've really seen him in a full game. I've seen bits of him here and there, like Champions League semi-final, but it was amazing to see him, how he comes out with the ball. And he ends up even in the final third now and again, given complete license to roam by Nagelsmann, right, Dave?
Yep, and I think he did look. He was their best player up until Rashford made him look like David Luiz. But no, you can see there's a lot of quality there. I thought maybe when he did get into the final third, as obviously he's a defender first and foremost. I'm not expecting him to slide crisp through balls in behind. But I thought his end product wasn't the best. But the rest of his game was pretty on, and I really hope that he's a player that we're looking closely at. I think from this first half performance, I think there'll be a few of our players saying to their manager, he's someone we should be considering to strengthen the squad. But yeah, but was impressed by him. But like most of their players, the last half hour he was kind of non-existent. They kind of chucked it once we got the third goal, but there was enough there to see what the hype is about him.
It was reminiscent of our almost greatest player ever, Phil Jones, circa 2011, actually. And bringing the ball out and just continuing to run with it. He just keep going, which is what Phil Jones used to do, right? But he seemed to have a better idea of what he was going to end up doing with it before just running into a brick wall. It looked a little bit raw, though, and I think that is one of the things you do see these talents sometimes, and
he is only 22 years old.
Yeah, of course, but at the same time, I think you don't maybe appreciate that until you're watching them 90 minutes game in, game out, when you're kind of seeing the highlights, and obviously then supplementing that with YouTube videos, they probably look more rounded and polished than they actually are. And in reality, there's no reason to really want him over keeping Tuanzebe, to be honest, other than the injury record.
Yeah, no, look, if Tuanzebe can keep fit, then yeah, we know that he's a massive talent. It's just all about the fitness there. And Eric Bailly again is injured, so yeah, no surprise there. So yeah. I think even there's definitely going to be space for another centre-back in our squad, because, I think we can't be persisting with these kind of injured players like we've done in the past. Although, yeah, I did see that Marcus Rojo had a run out for the reserves the other week, so we might see him turning up out the blue again. He's still kicking around. Do have to give a shout out as well to your boy Nagelsmann for his dress sense, David. I mean, what
He
on
lost
earth
the
was
game
he
then.
wearing?
The game was gone as soon as he put that jacket on.
Well, it goes back to, doesn't it? I mean, maybe some of our younger fans won't know, but yeah, the 1996 Cup final where the Liverpool versus us and Liverpool players all show up in these white Armani suits, and Alex Ferguson said, "I knew as soon as I saw them show up that we were going to win this game."
Yeah.
And they were called like the Spice Boys or whatever, and it was that era of like Fowler, Redknapp, and various other players. So yeah, it is like exactly reminiscent of that he's turned up in his. I don't know what I really truly don't know what he was thinking, but I guess this was a big day for him. He's been getting a lot of plaudits, and I guess he's a manager who wants the press and is probably thinking ahead that one day I'm going to go to the Premier League or something like that. So yeah, it was his "I've arrived at Old Trafford" moment, but one that he'll want to forget rather than remember, I guess. But if anybody's not seen the suit he turned up in, go and have a look on YouTube or whatever on the press. Yeah,
Combs probably got that jacket.
Well, it was like a full-on, like 80s pimp suit or something. I don't know where he found it from.
I think this is hilarious that a group of three British guys are criticising a German guy's fashion sense. I love it. Oh, love it. Love it. I thought it was outrageous. I mean, nothing about it went, and the camera did seem to pan towards him quite a lot. Obviously, he's been in the media for all the right reasons, but I think he's going to get a fair bit of criticism back in his home country for his suit choice there. It just nothing about it looked good at all. And yeah, but on the Upamecano thing, I just read he has a £38 million release clause next summer. I think there's going to be a pretty big queue at his door, and he's obviously going to have his choice of where to go next. Don't think Rasenbull are going to stand in his way, so be a fair battle for his signature. But I don't think at that price, anyone, it's a gamble.
No, I don't keep up with what Leipzig are doing and how Nagelsmann doing like you do, David. But one thing that I do know is that they've let big names go, pretty much every season. Obviously, Keita was from Leipzig right before as well. Before then, Werner this time around, and they're big name players who there was huge focus and plaudits on, and then they leave, and RB just continue to carry on winning games and being super efficient. Obviously, today, it's a bit of a black mark, but it doesn't really change, how fantastic he's done, what he's.
Yeah, they're still top of the Bundesliga.
Yeah, obviously still a great manager, and I guess he's just no Ollie, and he's not at the wheel right now.
True.
Well, look, it's another scalp in the list. Yeah, this is why I say, and I got it Dave for it last week, but it's actually all about things I see every day on Twitter and even on Red Cafe, where there's still a lot of people who I just feel are not giving Ole the respect he deserves for the job he's done. Sure, we had a slow, bad start to the season, but as I say personally, I just write that off as being a part of just having no pre-season and going deep in Europe. And now we see our team actually being fit and what they can actually do, and what Ole can do when he's got the players doing what he wants them to do. And I just still feel that he's just not getting enough respect for the job he's done. I mean, I posted up today in our little group there'd been a pretty big vote on Twitter, where there's something like 8,000 votes, which is a sizable amount. And there's still only 50% of people said that Ole should be our manager. There was 30 odd percent saying they want him sacked and about 20% saying they weren't sure. And to be fair, I can understand still people who say they're not sure, but I cannot understand how 35% of our fans think that it is a good idea to be sacking our manager right now. It's just mind boggles for me. After he came third last season, I just can't see that any manager would have done any better than that. And that, bare minimum, he deserves another year to keep seeing where he can go with his style and to make the team he wants to play.
Even the 20% unsure surprises me, and as you pointed out last week, but
wouldn't you put yourself in the unsure category?
No, I wouldn't.
No, all right. I've always felt you were a bit kind of look, I'm okay with Ole. I don't want to see the back of him, but I don't know if he's the right kind of long-term manager for us.
I'm not sure that he's the manager that will win us the league. I'm not sure that he's the manager who will take us to that highest level. But that doesn't mean that.
Yeah, even I'm not sure of that either. I can't
Yeah,
say I'm sure
exactly.
of that. So, but yeah.
I definitely agree with David that there's steps back. I would still say that it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and it has been a gradual improvement and also a bit of a culture change at the club, different way of thinking in terms of transfers until seemingly the end of this window a little bit. And, there's clearly a lot of good signs there. So, like I said last week, I've never wanted to see the back of him. And I think right now he's more than shown enough that for this moment in time, he's definitely the man for the job. At the moment, like I say, if a Poch is available, do I think he could get even more out the squad? Probably. Do I think that, Ollie's going to be the one to win a title? Maybe in a season like this, sure, but otherwise not really. But, there's still an upward trajectory there, and you've got to applaud him for games like this, 100%. I'm just jealous that Nagelsmann and the Leipzig guys can go back to Germany and can watch all Rashford's goals on that huge screen. Very jealous.
They'll definitely be getting a few replays to learn from that, I think. But yeah. Look, it is a. But yeah, as I say, look, we have to just look at again. Like the interesting thing is this diamond. Let's talk about the diamond because there's been a lot of our fans who have actually been saying, "Listen, we should be playing a diamond because we've got like a plethora of talent in midfield, and the best way to get as many of them in the team as possible is a diamond. Plus, we've got no wingers. Like we've got Daniel James is the only one, and we talked about last week that he's just way out of form and shouldn't be anywhere near the starting lineup. So it does kind of make sense in so many ways. I kind of thought that because we'd barely ever seen it, that Ole was just against it for whatever reason. Did not, I think he's played it like once before somewhere.
Yeah.
I think somebody mentioned against Everton maybe last season. But yeah, this was the first time we've seen it in any game of like big merit, and it's really worked. I mean, do you think that this might be the kind of future for the team over here, this diamond? I mean, what do you think of it, Dave? Is this the way forward?
Sorry?
I'll go. For me, the problem with the diamond is our fullbacks just aren't strong on the ball and progressing the ball up the pitch. And then with their end product, I think having the option of Telles as that left back makes a big difference to that, even though we would be weighting the forward play and having him as the outball so much so to that side. At least it probably means that they shift over so that anytime we do need Wan-Bissaka to take the ball, he's probably got a little bit more space. The problem is obviously today it worked because the opposition played high up the pitch and left some gaps. And even then, until that second goal, it's not like we were creating all game. It worked in a composed and efficient and controlling the game perspective, but we weren't creating lots of chances. If you were to have a team playing 5 at the back in a low block, would those players have just all got on top of each other? And would we have then just had to play the ball out to the wing backs or full backs who just can't do a great deal with it? That would be my concern with it moving forward, without a few more additions to the squad.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting to see whether we see this diamond again or when, our next game coming up on Sunday is Arsenal, which again is another massive game. They've had a stop-start kind of start to the season as well. Lost to Leicester the other day, but still going in the right direction under Arteta. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult game for us there as well. So yeah, whether we stick with this formation, go back. I mean, the good thing to see is that we just do have so many different options now. Because, again, it's been like one of the criticisms of Ole is that, he doesn't have a plan B, he doesn't have other options. All it is about the counter-attack and there's nothing else. So now when we start seeing that, sometimes we can have 5 at the back, we can have a diamond. We've seen before like split forwards, and all these different ways have worked for us against different teams. So yeah, and as well, we've talked about the big thing is having options to come in from the bench. I've criticised Ole myself for not rotating enough last season. I said, especially in that run-in where, Fred, McTominay did not get many minutes, and he was just playing like certain players into the ground again and again. Whereas I think this is the thing now, we have the chance to see whether Ole does know the squad management and game management of giving players the right minutes, and will be proven now in this kind of run that's coming. But, we talked about this run that was coming up, that was going to be PSG, Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal, And, we'd say the first 3 of those have gone pretty well. All right, we didn't win against Chelsea and it was 0-0, but yeah, we were the better team on the day. So yeah, just game number 4 in this crazy run coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like I said earlier, the best thing for me about, having that squad depth isn't just that it brings a level of tactical flexibility needed. It brings multiple options for different opposition. It provides us with a plan B in game where things aren't going right. But also, I think that the players who do start, the starting 11 will raise their games as a result because they know that they've got players in the background waiting in the wings ready to take their space, right? And I think that healthy competition within the squad is only going to help. It's a great problem for Ollie to have. I mentioned on the last pod in terms of this Arsenal game coming up that one of the things that Ollie mentioned after the match against Chelsea was that after PSG last season, we then went and lost to Arsenal. And then that just kind of sent our season spinning, and that he didn't want to lose the momentum. And that's why maybe he was so cautious. And I think, with the win tonight, we go into that Arsenal game really strong with our heads held high and a lot of confidence there. And I think if we can win that game at the weekend, then we'll be in such a fantastic spot. And as I said a few weeks ago, he will have shown then for what, the 3rd time that he's able to bring us out of a bit of a tailspin. And this time he'll have actually nipped it in the bud a little bit, not let it get ahead of it ourselves, and then built up some real momentum, which is, I don't know if it's a quality that you don't see in managers very often, or if it's just that managers don't often get given the chance to turn things around. But it's great that he's able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, if we look even forward after that Arsenal, we then got our next Champions League opponents, which is Istanbul. And then after that is Everton, who, again, this season are actually probably going to be a top 6 kind of challenger. They did
title challenger.
Yeah, well, I doubt it myself. I think they've had a good start to the season, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Yeah, but yeah, I think they'll definitely be fighting for like top 4. Ancelotti's a great manager, so then that's going to be another big matchup, and let's see if he can get another scalp on his list. Like I say, every big manager who comes along, Ole has done them at least one way or another. So yeah, Ancelotti is, probably at the moment in the Premier League, the most experienced of kind of, number of trophies in his whole career that's on there. So yeah, that game is then coming up after that. So yeah, it doesn't get that much easier as we go into November after this crazy kind of October, basically. But yeah, we know this season is going to be like that all the way through. There's going to every 2 games a week all the way, just, mental. And yeah, this squad is going to have to be tested all the way. So let's see where we can go from there. Look, I don't think any of us expected to be coming out having a 5-0 kind of win to talk about, right? Where do we go after that, really? And it's hopefully, we went PSG and then it was 0-0 against Chelsea and it felt like a bit of a come down. But, we need to get a win against Arsenal. I think, David, you did point out yourself last week when we were chatting that, look, we are still in 15th down there, even though, it's a very bunched up league with a game in hand. But we do probably need to get a win over there and start getting our league season back on track.
Yeah, and we definitely need a win at Old Trafford as well. What was it, 1972? It was the worst start we've had since then. So obviously, sometimes these statistics, they don't paint the whole picture. When you look at the league table and the gap between us and the top, if we do win our game in hand, it's not all doom. I think we do need to probably, with Arsenal, I think they set up quite similar to the way that Leipzig played tonight. They have been playing 3 at the back with kind of wing backs recently. So if we do set up the way that we set up tonight, I think we could probably do one over on Arteta. I don't think, have we beat Arteta yet? I can't remember our results against them so far. But I think if we set up the same way, I think we're probably favourites for it. But yeah, it's the problem, I think, when you refer to that poll where we have so many people unsure and so many people who want him sacked. Now, I'm not the biggest believer in a poll's accuracy, especially when it comes to a Man United fan poll. You don't know how many teams from rival clubs are just voting for whatever, just for the banter. But I think a lot of the reason that there will be people genuinely unsure is because of the topsy-turvy nature of Solskjaer's reign. I can't say with any confidence that we're going to go and execute the game plan that we did tonight against Arsenal, even though Arsenal's lineup might be very, very similar. I don't have that confidence yet. And I think when you have that confidence going into each and every game, I think that's where you'll see a lot of those unsures turn into Ole in, and a lot of those people that want him sacked have realised that they're probably just jumping the gun a bit there. But we need that consistency. We haven't had it for long enough. Right now, it looks like since the Spurs game, it looks like we've turned a corner. It looks like our season is finally off to the start that we all hoped it would be, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I think that's probably about a good time to wrap up today. Let's see whether we come back after Arsenal, or definitely we'll be back the week after that. We have been trying to make a big push to be putting out more regular output, so I hope you guys listening are appreciating it. And Locker over here as well has been jumping in on the editing side. We'd had some great work done by Dave and Andy in the past, and yeah, Locker's getting his hands dirty on the tech side as well, which is good. Why we're trying to turn these around fast and get them out. Do please give us your feedback, comments on Red Cafe, even if they're moaning at me for having a go at Dave last week.
I'm glad you acknowledged it, though. I'm glad you acknowledged that you did have a go, so thanks for that.
Yeah, look, as I say, I'm quite happy. As I say, I do think there's a bit of what they call it nowadays, snowflakes, or I say, look, to me, that's just standard stuff, yeah. Nice,
you're alienating our listeners here, stop it.
But yeah, look, yeah, it's all good. Like I say, all criticism, everything is welcome.
Yeah.
If you're listening
on iTunes.
If you're listening on Apple, please, give us a review, because it does help us out there. And one day as well, we started talking you might see us on YouTube. We do have a YouTube account. We don't really use it, but there's been some rumblings of us actually putting out a video or something soon. So yeah, watch this space. But yeah, that's it for now. Another great day, 5-0, top of our Champions League group. And I do actually want to just mention there, it's not just the I told you so's for David this week, but we had Reese, who didn't think we were going to get out of our Champions League group. Jamie a couple of weeks ago was very unsure. And Imran about 3 weeks before that said we were going to win the Europa League after coming third in our group. So yeah, and I
still could happen. Still could happen.
Still could happen. Let's not get too excited. But right now I'm saying I'm on a full I told you so session today. All right. Good night, all.
Cheers, everyone. Folks.